And welcome everyone, thank you very much for joining me today on my latest Premier League show, week 2. We're 2 weeks now into the Premier League and the season is very much got underway. But most importantly, just to get started really, if you're new around here, make sure you do smash that subscribe button and join the family. It's going to be a totally non-biased Premier League show coming out every Sunday, everyone anyway. So if you're a fan of footy, if you're a fan of Liverpool, if not, get involved in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts on your teams that have been playing this week, how they've played and what they need to do in the next coming weeks in the Premier League, because there has been a couple of teams that have not been performing to the highest standard of level, in which we'll talk about in today's episode, everyone. But I'll try and run through the couple of the biggest games that have happened this week. Liverpool are still to play on Monday evening against the Crystal Palace side. Selhurst Park. Hopefully the Reds can get 3 points anyway, but it's going to be a very difficult task going down to London anyway. But firstly, we'll start off with the Chelsea versus Arsenal on Saturday. It was the biggest game really on Saturday. 3-2 win for Sarri and his boys anyway. The Pedro Morata opened up the account very early on, getting 2 goals in the first 20 minutes to set the game and set the tempo. Alex Iwobi really pulled one back on the 41st minute just before half-time anyway. Really, it's the thing when you do look at Arsenal, and I think if you're an Arsenal fan, get involved in the comment section below. When something that was labelled under Arsene Wenger, it was if they can defend properly. They need real leaders at the back, and when I watch Arsenal, I think with Liverpool, we got Virgil van Dijk. We brought an out-and-out leader at the back. And you go back to the likes of Tony Adams, the absolute legends that were at Arsenal all those years ago. Someone that can just basically organise a defence. But in that first half against Chelsea, and very much in the opening week of the season, you're lacking leaders and you're lacking really pace for me, really. Let me know your thoughts. Lichtsteiner, for me, the ex-Juventus man, he wasn't starting the game, which I thought was a quite interesting. Obviously, Hector Bellerin played right back for Arsenal against Chelsea in the second week of the season. But in the first opening week of the season, he played fantastic defensively in terms of the organising, even if you did lose the game anyway. But I think him in that right back position in the first week of the season, he offered you a lot more assurance in the defence. Going to the second half of the Chelsea versus Arsenal, Alonso got the winner against the Gunners anyway, assisted by Eden Hazard. So the match finished 3-2 anyway. Everyone, if you're an Arsenal fan, if you're a Chelsea fan, get involved in the comment section below on your thoughts in terms of your weekly performance. Arsenal currently sit at, where did he sit in the table, with no points. They are 17 with 2 goals scored and 5 goals conceded. And you look at Chelsea, they are second in the table with 6 goals, 2 goals conceded as well. Sarri seems to be getting his football implemented in terms of transitioning from the Italian league, getting his players very well suited. But it looks like the Chelsea lads are very much comfortable in the way in which they want to play under the new manager, which will be very interesting. I've got Chelsea very much close to Liverpool and City this season. I think they're going to be the 3 main challengers. Everyone let me know your thoughts in that. United, we'll talk about United in a little second anyway, but Chelsea I think will have a really good season, and under Sarri, the way in which he plays his football, attacking brand of football, and the way in which he goes through those packets of cigarettes. Everyone, we've all seen that. He had a packet of 20 in his hand for the whole game, and he went through about the whole 20 in the last 15 minutes, as he said. We're going to the other game now as well, which on Saturday was very interesting. Marco Silva has got a win for Everton at Goodison Park. Everton won 2-1 against Southampton. Danny Ings obviously grabbing a goal for the Saints in the second half. Anyway, Richarlison getting his goal once again, and Theo Walcott opening the account in the first 15 minutes. I've got a lot of Everton lads, mates anyway, and they're really excited going into this season. And you can basically, the football in which the ex-Watford man, he likes to play an attacking brand of football, as you're all already aware anyway. But I think this will only benefit Everton going into this season. Last season, they had the boring, drab Sam Allardyce tactics and style of football, which is not nice to watch. on the eye, but I think Marco Silva has got a couple of players in to the football club. Yerry Mina at the back, Richarlison, Kurt Zuma, obviously from Chelsea. He's got a couple of decent buys. It's whether if he can implement that style of football and that attacking brand, really. But he's got a cracking bunch of players at Everton. Everton have got pace, and that's something Everton, I don't know if you're an Everton fan, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Or if you're another fan, when you do watch Everton now, they've got a lot of attacking options. Let me know your thoughts on the Everton game. It's going to be very interesting. They sit 6 in the Premier League, Everton. You've scored 4 and conceded 3, and they are currently on 4 points. And Southampton, they played 2 and they've only got 1 point. Scored 1, conceded 2, and they currently sit 13th in the Premier League. It's going to be very interesting to see how and where they finish in terms of Premier League. I think I might have had them to get relegated this season. Last season, they very much played so poor, and I think, as I've all been saying all this season, the loss of Tadic for Southampton, he was very much one of the vocal and main sources of creativity in that Saints team. But it'd be interesting to see how they cope. And Spurs as well, just quickly to touch on their result. 3-1 against the opposition from London. Fulham back in the Premier League. 3-1. Lucas Moura scored in the first half on the 43rd minute. It was a very well taken goal, especially on his weaker foot. I was very surprised the way in which he finished it. But the ex-PSG man, I think he's going to have a great season. He's got a lot of very similar attributes to Salah, and not comparing the ability, but the way in which they both move. Lucas very much gets on the back foot due to his pace and in which he offers to this Spurs side anyway. But going forward, especially having him running off the back of Harry Kane or Son if he does play, or the variety of players Spurs have got this season. Mitrovic scoring his goal to make it 1-1 on the 52nd minute. I think he's very underrated, and I think there was a lot of fans of Fulham being like, they were excited to see him, but other Premier League fans would be like, oh, you paid a lot of money for him. But when you did watch him in the Premier League and in the World Cup anyway, he gives you that different option. Yeah, he hasn't really performed and showcased his talent to the rest of the world as of yet. He's still only young, but from what I've seen, obviously probably a lot more Newcastle fans there anyway that know a lot more about him. But when I watched him, I felt he was a player that could, given the right coaching and given the right instructions, be very deadly in the right team. And we'll see with Fulham, they've got Ryan Sessegnon playing down that left-hand flank, very young attacking Englishman. He's got a bright future anyway. It's interesting to see how he performs. The first week against Crystal Palace, he was very unlucky to not get in the score sheet. He played fantastic against Crystal Palace, even though they got beat 2-0. But it's going to be interesting. And Spurs obviously sit on 6 points. Let's get their current standing up. They are in 4th position, scoring 5 goals and conceding 2 in the Premier League. They didn't really invest, Spurs, in the transfer window, but you look at their squad. If they do not get injuries, they've got a fantastic 1-11 and possibly 1 or 2 players. I think they've got the chances to bring Dembele on and Dele Alli sometimes, depends on what players they do play. But Spurs will be interesting. If they cannot get any injuries, they will be right there up in the Premier League. I don't see them finishing the top 3, but I wouldn't put it past Spurs. You've got a fantastic team, and when you've got Harry Kane banging in the goals for you this season, like last season, the season before, and the season before last, that lad just loves to find the back of the net, and it'd be interesting. He's definitely going to get over 20 goals in the Premier League yet again. Wouldn't put it past him. Obviously, Harry Kane and Trippier as well. Trippier, it'd be interesting to see how he performs this season off the back of that England performance. I didn't know how good he was. There's probably a lot of Spurs fans going, oh yeah, we knew how good he was. But I think outside the Premier League, we didn't really look too much into him. Those performances have made every Premier League fan step up and take notice, really. He's a good lad and he's got bags of quality. Be interesting to see if Danny Rose does come back into this Spurs side. he's been linked with PSG anyway. But Spurs, 3-1 win against Fulham. As expected, you expect them to win every single home game this season. Then quickly on, just to run through the other results on the Saturday. Newcastle, Cardiff. Newcastle went down to 10 men, didn't he? And then you've got Kennedy, who had an absolute shocker. I've got a couple of Newcastle mates. They were very surprised that that lad, Kennedy, stepped up in the 95th, 96th minute and missed his penalty. When you're down to 10 men, he didn't play very well, Newcastle, but when you're getting given those opportunities to get a valuable 3 points so early on in the season, that would have been game, set and match. There was no way for Cardiff to come back, and possibly Junior Hoylett and the lads. I feel for Cardiff. I hope it would be nice for them to stay up, but I don't think they've invested heavily into their squad in the right areas. When you do come up from the Championship, you need to heavily invest. They spent a bit of money, really, but it'd be interesting, as I said, with Spurs, see where they finish in the long run. But I don't personally think, Cardiff fans, if there is any, let me know your thoughts on where you think you will finish. Then quickly, Leicester won 2-0 against Wolves. Jamie Vardy got sent off as well. He will miss Liverpool versus Leicester game, which is good for us anyway, but it was a really rash challenge. Left his foot in. There's probably a couple of years that might disagree, but the ref somehow seen it as a red card. It might have been, might have not been, but for me, I felt it was a very difficult and dangerous tackle. Saying that you can't put a foot wrong in the Premier League, you can't tackle now, which is madness. Go back about 20, 30 years ago, those tackles were the norm anyway. But yeah, Leicester played quite well, and Wolves, for the squad they've got, so many Portuguese players. Patricio in goal, obviously the export in Lisbon. Neves, I really rate this lad. I would love Liverpool to sign him. He's got bags of quality, and he showcased that in the Championship last season. And Jota, there's a whole host. Moutinho from Monaco as well. Wolves have done some fantastic business, but as it stands, they really haven't clicked in the Premier League. They sit 14th on how many points they got? 1 point. They've conceded 4 and scored 2 anyway. Obviously Wolves with Neves scored in last week against Everton. Be interesting to see where they finish, but with Wolves, I think it's only a matter of time really until the majority of the new players do start to gel with the other players that have come through up in the Championship. And then West Ham got beat by Bournemouth 2-1 at home. Pellegrini is new players yet again. He's trying to implement his style of football and his attacking brand like Marco Silva is with Everton. It's going to take a very long time, and it's whether West Ham fans can sit there and be patient. I know it's trying to be patient when your team's losing, but with new managers, you've got to give them time. But results have very much got to pick up. Penalty by Arnautovic as well in the 33rd minute. And then obviously you got Cook and Wilson. Wilson have got me fancy football, so it's lovely where he keeps on scoring. He scored last week as well. But Bournemouth, Eddie Howe's the longest serving Premier League manager, which is madness. I think he's been there for 6 or 7 years. It's the longest serving manager in the Premier League, which is scary and madness. Obviously Arsene Wenger was the last one, and Fergie anyway when he left. But Eddie Howe, he always does a cracking job at Bournemouth. The budget he's on, the players he's got. It'd be interesting to see where they finish. I think very much a top 10 finish, as Eddie Howe usually does. But I'd like Bournemouth to at least push for those Europa League places with a Wolves, with an Everton. See where those finish anyway. But going into the Sunday results now, touch on the main one really. Manchester United getting beat by Brighton 3-2. Obviously the results went Brighton's way last season, and it's been this case once again. Lukaku, this is a non-biased. I don't feel sorry for Manchester United, because you know what you're going to get with Jose Mourinho, but it's his style of management really, in terms of how he represents a club, and very much that does not represent the style in which Manchester United. I've grew up on Manchester United winning lots of Premier League titles with the football in which Sir Alex Ferguson played, and Sir Alex Ferguson has won titles with a much worse Manchester United team than Mourinho has got now. And for me, that's facts. Rafa Benitez, facts. But obviously you had Glenn Murray scoring in the 25th minute, and then a sucker punch goal by Duffy to make it 2-0. And then you're like, when I was looking at the notifications, I wasn't watching the match anyway, but I've just seen the highlights. Everyone, there's probably a lot of you that have watched the match. Let me know your thoughts on this. Lukaku replied on the, I think it was the 34th minute. It is interesting to see where they go from here. Paul Pogba got the second goal for Manchester United to make it 3-2 to Brighton. But you do sit there. How long is Jose Mourinho going to be there at Manchester United? Obviously, last season he started three wins from 3, but they've gone to the Premier League and they're currently sitting on 3 points. Scored 4 and conceded 4. It's that defence in which you've got to look at. Could Manchester United not signing a centre-back in that transfer window? They put a bid in for everyone and the nan. They went for Godin, they went for a lot at Mina, who went to Everton as well. But that is the highlighted area that most Manchester United fans would talk about. The centre-back positions. Obviously, Eric Bailey, he's a fantastic centre-back, but he's obviously had his injuries in the past. Lindelof, what's he going to do? Is he going to really settle into Manchester United? The defence has always been questioned, but Sanchez really want to talk about. He's played absolutely terrible from an outsider point of view. Everyone, let me know your thoughts on your thoughts on Sanchez. When you see him at Manchester United, he tries to do too much, and I think when you've got a player like Martial or Rashford, Sanchez has taken that position off those two players, and for me, I'd play both of them ahead of Sanchez. His current form, he loses possession far too much. I think Jose Mourinho is trying to ask far too much from Sanchez. But if there's Man United fans anyway out there, let me know your thoughts. How do you get the best out of Sanchez? He's on 300 grand a week. That shouldn't really matter. But you're asking for a lot more from the Chilean. Lukaku, the players at Manchester United should be playing far better football. But they are shackled. They are told, you can't do that. You can't do that in terms of attack and play. Because if they do something out of hand in terms of the tactics in which they've not been given by Jose Mourinho, they will probably get a rollicking off the manager when you go into the changing rooms. And it's not like they're scared, but they're very much not wanting to upset him, because he's a manager in which if a player doesn't do what he wants and asked of him, he's very much happy to leave them out in the cold, like Luke Shaw with his comments all those couple of months back. But madness when you do look at the football in which Manchester United are playing. It's not good enough for a team as the potential standard. The money he has spent, Jose Mourinho, in the Premier League, I think he's over 1 billion. I love the way he just talks about Liverpool with spending their money in the right areas. Third year syndrome, isn't it, with Manchester United? He does it at every single club that he's been at. Third year is when everything goes wrong. Starts blaming the media, starts blaming the board, starts blaming the fans. But the only person that he doesn't blame is himself and his tactics. If he just let a couple of his players free to allow to express themselves, there is some players in terms of football and you can't really tell them what to do. Like Luis Suarez with Brendan Rodgers, he got the best out of him, but Louis, obviously being the player that he was, and players like Messi, Ronaldo, you've just got to let them play football. And I think Sanchez, he's like that characteristics in terms of it and his personality. He just wants to play and just play football. Just let him play his best and the way in which he wants to play. But they're not allowed to do that at Manchester United, which is mad. It is absolutely madness anyway. But it was a great result for Brighton. Once again, they at home against Manchester United. No discredit to Brighton, but they've done it last season, as we've already talked about. But they're on 3 points anyway, and it was Gus Poyet. I think that is a very big 3 points once again. And just quickly touching on Manchester City smashing Huddersfield 6-1. Sergio Aguero getting his hat-trick. I tell you what, you just look at City's bench. I'll just get it up, everyone here. Like the bench in which they had at the beginning of the half. Mahrez, Otamendi, Leroy Sané on the bench to start off. Sterling, Kyle Walker, Foden and Bravo. Madness, absolute madness. And then he brought, obviously, Mahrez, Foden and Leroy Sané on anyway. But Aguero getting his hat-trick, it's going to take a lot of stopping to stop Manchester City. Hopefully it does Liverpool anyway, but the two teams in the Premier League that just love to play attacking football. And tell you what now, if you put Pep Guardiola in charge of Manchester United, he would have that team playing far better than it currently is over the park anyway. But it's frightening. It's going to be exciting, everyone. If you're a neutral anyway, and you don't support Liverpool or Manchester City, or you're just a fan of football, let me know your thoughts. Who will finish top of the Premier League come the end of May? Be very interesting to see what everyone thinks. And Watford, to conclude, everyone, 3-1 away from home against Burnley. They currently sit on 6 points. Fantastic start to the season. Anyway, scored 5, conceded 1. They sit currently in 3rd position. Yet again, Will Hughes, Andrew Gray as well, and then who was the other scorer? Troy Deeney as well. Tarkowski scored and obviously replied from Gray's goal anyway in the 6th minute. So there was a 3rd minute goal from Gray, and then Tarkowski scored in the 6th minute anyway, and Deeney made it 2-1 in the second half, and then Hughes, as I've already said, made it 3-1. That's a very disappointing result for Burnley. They're usually very good at home, a very compact defensive team, but Sean Dyche, I absolutely love the football in which him and his Burnley side do play in the Premier League. But that's a fantastic 3 points from Watford. They've started the Premier League very well, everyone. But let me know your thoughts on all the Premier League's results this week. Get involved in all the matches, your players of the week as well. Players that you think that need to improve, and your thoughts on all the scores and the results. Well, everyone, come back next Sunday for the next 3rd week Premier League show anyway. Hope you've enjoyed it. It was something different on my channel, everyone. But yeah, as always, everyone, I'll see you later. And if you like this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And yeah, put your notifications bell on as well and get involved. See you later, everyone.